Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the information session with FPF Advisors. Just as a reminder, this is a webinar, which means we cannot hear or see you. Also, the chat feature is disabled, so if you have any questions, please submit through the Q&A function. So with that, we will get started in about 5 minutes just to give everybody some time to log in. So we'll be resuming shortly. Hi again. I just wanted to let those of you, I may have gotten cut off right when you were coming in, but just a quick reminder, we'll be getting started in about 5 minutes to let everybody log in for today's info session. So sit tight. We just want to give folks a few minutes to get situated. So we will be getting started shortly, probably about 5 after 4. All right, hi again, and welcome to those who are just joining now. We're very excited to be here this afternoon. Again, this is the information session with FPF Advisors. My name is Sarah Gamboa, and I'm one of the FPF Advisors that will be hosting today's presentation. Next slide, please. Okay. So who we are, this is the advising team here. As I just mentioned, I'm Sarah Gamboa and I'm one of the advisors. You'll be hearing from Brandon and Caroline in just a few minutes. But if you want to learn more about the advisors in detail, you can check out their bios on our website. So you can learn a little bit more about them there, about all of us. And just a thought to keep in mind, everyone up here on this slide was once in your shoes. So a freshman starting out on a new campus, dealing with all those feelings of excitement and nervousness, the unknown, and on it goes. So just know that the variety of emotions and feelings that you may be experiencing, you know, as you're approaching your first year of college are perfectly normal. All right. Thank you, Caroline. So today's agenda, we will start with an overview of FPF. And so this will include how to register and the timeline for that. We'll be talking about resources available in FPF, sample first semester schedule, and then we'll close with a question and answer with advisors. So during this time, you can submit your questions in the chat and we'll read them out. And some of the questions that we may not answer live and choose to message you in the chat if it doesn't really seem to pertain to the larger group. Also, if for some reason we run out of time and don't get to your question, please feel free to follow up with us via email at fpf@berkeley.edu. Okay, so a little, so what is FPF? So FPF is essentially a cohort within the freshman class in letters and science. We are frequently compared to a small liberal arts school within a large research university. Our program is just for the fall semester of your first year at Berkeley. So the spring semester, you'll move to main campus courses. We are a close-knit, tiny community, what we're referred to also often, and we provide opportunities, a lot of opportunities for collaborative learning. Peer tutoring, workshops, and advisors are additional resources that are also very accessible in our program. And with that, I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague, Brandon.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well today. I'm just going to quickly go over the different, how you can be eligible for FPF. So really, in order to be eligible for FPF, you just have to be a newly admitted student within the College of Letters and Science. We don't necessarily have any specific criteria or like application process. Once you're admitted to get into FPF, really you just have to be a newly admitted student within this specific college. Of course, this does include transfers or returning students, so you do have to be a newly admitted first-year student. I think other things to think about, especially when deciding on FPF, that really, like, if these two sort of is related to you, FPF may not be a good fit for you, but FPF is not approved for Veteran Affairs educational benefits. So if you're planning on using those specific benefits, then unfortunately FPF wouldn't work for those things. So if you're using post 9/11 GI Bill, Chapter 33, or the Dependent Educational Assistance, Chapter 35, then FPF might not be a good fit for you. If you do have questions about that, feel free to reach out to the VA Student Affairs Office. They can definitely answer any questions regarding your VA educational benefits as it pertains to FPF. Also, if you have California Community College IGETC, or maybe you just have completed so many different requirements related to college requirements at UC Berkeley, then because you've satisfied so many different requirements, FPF may not be for you for the reason that we might have a limited curriculum and we may not be able to offer all the different classes you may need since you've already satisfied so much. So I think if you are considering FPF, I think those are two big things that maybe would make FPF not a good fit for you. So now for registration. So really there's two ways that you can get registered for FPF. So the first one is for students to have the option of opting in. So in order to register for FPF, you first have to accept your offer of admission to UC Berkeley by May 1st at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So once you've accepted your offer of admission to Cal Central and you've paid your deposit if you have one, then after that, you're going to want to go back to your My Application portal at Berkeley and select the Fall Program for Freshman Registration under the forms. It's pretty simple. Just make sure to read through it, quickly sign it. And once you do that, you'll be registered for FPF. And you'll want to do that form by May 2nd at 11:59 p.m. So at least for students to have the option of opting into FPF, you sort of have two deadlines, right? So one, to accept your offer of admissions at UC Berkeley, and then two, to register for FPF by May 2nd. And then the second way of getting registered for FPF is for students that were directly admitted into FPF. So for these students, all you have to do is accept your offer of admissions to UC Berkeley. And sort of once you do that by May 1st, if you're admitted directly into FPF, then you're automatically registered for our program. So for y'all, you only have one date to keep in mind, and that's just accepting your offer of admissions by May 1st at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So those are the two ways in which you may have to register for FPF. Again, if you do have questions, feel free to email us or contact admissions directly. Because I think one thing to note is that as it pertains to admissions and the selection process and which sort of way that you're admitted into FPF, at UC, the Office of Undergraduate Admissions sort of completes that entire process. FPF doesn't have any say in the selection process or regarding student statuses. So if you do have specific questions about that, I highly suggest that you reach out to admissions directly. Great. And I think one thing that makes FPF really great is just our ability to advise. So last year, during the fall of 2021, we met with 97.3% of all our students in one-on-one advising. And I think that's a really important thing to know, especially if you do have questions like as advisors, even before you accept your offer of admissions to UC Berkeley or even want to register for FPF, we want to support you in making the best decision possible that makes the most sense for you and your academic goals. So we don't want to force you to do anything or really just, we really just want you to make the best decision for yourself. And if FPF is part of that reason, then definitely reach out to us, especially if you have any questions or concerns. I think another thing to note is that we actually meet with all of our students over the summer. So even before you set foot on campus, even before you enroll in classes, we actually meet with you to make sure that your fall semester classes are good to go. So I think really advising, whether that's before FPF, during FPF, we want to support you as much as we can. So definitely consider that as a reason to join us. So now I'll go ahead and bring it to Caroline.
Thank you so much for passing the baton, Brandon. Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Forrest, and I'm one of the academic advisors with FPF. And so you may be wondering, like, what might we talk about during that summer advising appointment that you have before coming to campus? And so that would consist of your first semester course load. So before the appointment, you'll be completing some Golden Bear advising modules that will help you get a better sense of all the things you need to know when it comes to planning your first semester schedule at UC Berkeley. And we will help you walk you through how to structure your first semester schedule. And so a student in FPF must be enrolled in 13 units minimum. The maximum that students can take is 17.5. However, we recommend students staying between 13 to 15 units. That's because historically we found that that is a sweet spot for the number of units to be taking because it allows you to manage your academics and engage in other opportunities on campus and in FPF. So students are required to take 3 core courses within our curriculum. A core course in FPF is 3 to 4 units, and that sometimes can range from 3 to 4 individual classes depending upon the number of units each class is worth. The core classes that we offer typically satisfy general education requirements and major prerequisites. So we typically recommend a balanced meal approach of a schedule, and that can consist of major prerequisite classes, reading and composition classes, which are one of your college requirements as an LNS student, quantitative reasoning classes. Some students might think that's just math, but it could also include calculus and statistics and other forms of math, as well as breadth requirements, which is another college requirement, and that can range from physical sciences to arts and humanities to social sciences. So the schedule is balanced because it allows you to work on things for your major as well as college requirements too. So in addition to the 3 to 4 core classes that you take in FPF, students also have the opportunity to take approved main campus courses. The majority of the main campus courses that are approved are worth 2 or less units. Those are things such as Berkeley Connect, physical education, decals, and theme housing, as well as more opportunities. Those can be great enrichment opportunities to explore different interests and add a unique twist to the core classes you're already taking in FPF. In addition to that, the College of Letters and Sciences will also provide a list of approved main campus courses worth 3 units or more that you could take too. But we highly recommend you reach out to an FPF advisor if you're thinking about taking a class that's not offered on our curriculum list. So as I mentioned before, the main purpose of our curriculum is to help you fulfill degree requirements and explore different majors. So that's something that you'll be talking about during your summer advising appointments and throughout your time as an FPF student. So we really think the summer advising appointment and the other interactions that we have with students is one of those distinct hallmark features of our program, and that leads to some of the impact that we are able to have on students during their first semester and beyond. So for a little bit of context, the annual incoming freshman class at UC Berkeley is around 6,000 students. However, the FPF cohort is on average 750 students. So in addition to the advising, the small-knit, close-knit community feel that we provide can really make a difference in the education that you receive and how you navigate the university. Some of the ways that how that shows up is through a higher percentage of FPF students receive Dean's Honors versus LNS students overall. Additionally, FPF students tend to have higher graduation rates than students who start on the main campus too. So the holistic overview of our program can lead to various educational results, such as the ones that we shared here. And we hope that you'll consider some of these benefits when you're thinking about your collegiate journey. So before we move into the question and answer period of this webinar, we wanted to remind you of how to get in contact with us in case you need to head out early for any reason. So FPF is located in a building called the Golden Bear Center in downtown Berkeley. Please note that this is a public building. However, FPF staff work remotely during the spring semester. So we encourage you to reach out via our email, which is fpf@berkeley.edu, and as well as our website, which is fpf.berkeley.edu. You can see the full list of events, our staff bios, as well as our policies and information, but you can also connect with our student ambassadors who are former FPF participants from previous years. We have a lovely group of students who would love to share their student experience. So you can talk to them at askfpf@berkeley.edu as well. Or you can sign up for our webinar next Thursday, where some of them will be participating in a student panel to learn about what their experience in FPF was like. Yes, additionally, please also submit your questions for us in the Q&A feature of this webinar, as we cannot see them come through during the chat function. Okay, so now we will move into the Q&A period. Sarah, did you get any questions that came in?
Yes, we do. We do have some questions coming in. So I wanted to mention real quickly before I get into the questions, a recorded session of this webinar that we're doing today will be available on YouTube. We will be posting it up there within the next few days. So just so I think someone had written that in at the very beginning, that will be available there. One of the first questions that came in earlier on is, how many students does each advisor have in their caseload? And do advisory groups get together? So I can take that first question. So typically advisors have approximately 250 students in their caseload. So I think you may have seen this already in our literature, but in the LNS, there's about 6,000 in the incoming Frosh class that comes in. And so you can imagine what the caseload is like there in the college versus our program. So it's a lot smaller. And I think I would say, a lot more accessible in that sense. Do advisory groups get together? Yes, we do have events and opportunities for our caseloads to get together. And I believe that during the summer in GBA, there's also opportunities with posts, and Brenda might be able to elaborate, or Caroline, on that, but there are opportunities for everyone, regardless of the caseload or the advisor that you're assigned to interact with the FPF community. So the next question that has come in is, how is the fall program for freshmen different than the regular fall sessions?
Yeah, I can answer that. So I think really the biggest thing, if you're a part of FPF, the biggest difference has to do with your academics, right? So you'll be taking a majority of your classes through our course offerings, and most of those classes are held at the Golden Bear Center, which is 2 blocks to the west part of campus. And that's where a majority of your classes will be. Of course, you still may have classes that are FPF, or maybe a 2-unit or less class outside of our curriculum that is outside of that building and more part of the central part of campus. But for the most part, the biggest difference has to do with your academics. And as it pertains to your academics, it also means smaller class sizes, as well as just more interactions with your instructors and more accessible advising. So I think that's the biggest difference. And just sort of outside of that, you're still getting all the same resources and being able to do all the same things as all other UC Berkeley students, right? So you're living in the same dorms as every other student. So you could have a roommate or dorm mates that are not in FPF, right? Or maybe you do. So you live in the same dorms, using the same dining commons, using the same libraries, joining the same student organizations and clubs, and going to the same events. So really, as an FPF student, you get all the really awesome benefits of UC Berkeley, as well as the benefits of FPF. So I would say that would be the main difference of what the fall semester looks like in FPF versus students who are not in FPF.
All right, thank you, Brandon. The next question is, what do advisors advise on? Is it mostly providing help in registering for classes and navigating Berkeley for the first time? Or are advisors long-term mentors and thought partners to help students figure out which majors to explore and careers to consider? Caroline,
that question.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm so glad someone asked that. So I will contextualize my answer by saying that there's a lot of different type of advisors at UC Berkeley. There's advisors for academics, there are financial aid advisors, there are other student support type of advisors. So FPF advisors fall in the category of academic advisors. So we help you get situated with making the transition from high school to college, understanding how to enroll in classes, understanding any type of academic policies that may affect you, such as if you need to drop a class or other examples within that category. But we also connect you to resources on campus, because we understand that you're not just taking classes at Berkeley, you're living fully well-rounded lives here, engaging in different opportunities. So if we find that we need to connect you to a resource that may be suitable for you, such as a mental health resource or engaging in student activities and clubs, we can help facilitate that as well. But our domain lies mostly within academic things.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Okay, so the next question that's come in is, do any of the FPF classes satisfy the university or campus general ed requirements, or would they most likely be main campus classes? That's a great question too. And the answer to that is yes, a lot of the curriculum offered in FPF does satisfy general ed requirements, such as the reading and composition, quantitative reasoning, potentially foreign language, as well as the 7 course breadth. So it's very possible to knock out a few of those requirements. And in some cases, depending upon your major, prerequisites for your intended major. So I think that the link was included in our chat earlier to our course offerings page, but on that page, we also include, you can view all the course offerings, I think in alphabetical order, and then they're also broken down by category in terms of an area that they satisfy. So you can look at the courses that way as well. Okay, so so the next question that we have coming in here is, can students take courses in summer? So this coming summer to meet breadth requirements either at Berkeley or at community college before coming to campus?
So the answer is yes, you can take classes over the summer, whether that's at Berkeley or at the community college. As it pertains to taking summer classes with Berkeley, you're going to want to look up Freshman Edge. That's sort of the way that most first-year students or newly admitted students take summer classes specifically at UC Berkeley. If you're planning on taking a class at a California community college over the summer, just be sure to check that the class is transferable. I think a really great resource to utilize is assist.org. I'll go ahead and put that link in the chat right now as well. But this using assist.org, you can check your local community college and what classes that you can take there that will transfer over to UC Berkeley. So I think that's a really great resource. And if you have more specific questions about that, feel free to email us directly and we can sort of situate you with the right specific class. Now, if you are planning on taking a class, like say you're out of state or even international, then you may have to, it may be a bit harder to sort of find those transfer agreements. So you may have to speak with the college at that you're thinking about attending directly, or you may want to reach out to the registrar's office at UC Berkeley. So the answer is yes, you can take classes over the summer. You just want to make sure that the class you want to take is transferable and it satisfies the right requirement that you're looking to satisfy. So I know that can get a bit complicated. So if you are thinking about it, please be sure to reach out to one of us and we can help direct you to the right resources.
All right. So the next question we have in here, is there a dominant demographic represented in FPF? For example, the type of high school they came from, or does it still comprise the wide range of student backgrounds and experiences that are present in the incoming Berkeley class? Do you feel you want to take that one, Caroline? Or?
I would say I feel the program is representative of the admitted class within the College of Letters and Sciences. So that can range from a variety of majors, from a variety of backgrounds. Our students do come from across the state of California, the country, and from the globe. So from my experience, the program has been extremely diverse in the student population. I will also say we have been told by former students in the program that FPF is really great for students who may be coming from a smaller high school and looking for a smaller community feel to kind of help adjust to the newness and the bigness of UC Berkeley. But we've also been told that FPF is really appropriate for any student who may be wanting to start up with a strong foundation at UC Berkeley. So regardless of where you come from or how you experienced high school and how you want to experience college, there's something in FPF that could be appealing to you and help you get started well with your collegiate journey at Berkeley. Is there anything else you all want to add to that, Sarah or Brandon?
Not me. No, I think you covered that pretty well. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to answer one real quickly that I meant to type a response to, and I hit type answer live. So the question was, and now I'm blanking on it. Okay, it'll come back to me. I'm going to skip to this question here. The next one, if you were admitted to UC Berkeley directly through FPF, do you have to enroll in FPF or can you take regular Berkeley classes in your first semester?
Yeah.
So oh, go ahead, Brandon.
Sorry about that. So if you are a direct admit into FPF, then you are part of the program, which means you have to sort of follow the policies of FPF. So that would mean you would have to take most of your classes from our curriculum and enroll through our specific course offerings. Now, you still can take the main campus courses from UC Berkeley, but most of those classes will be classes that are 2 units or less. And most of the 2-unit classes or 2-unit or less classes are really going to be more enrichment courses like physical education, Berkeley Connect, decals, which are classes taught by UC Berkeley students. So there's still ways for you to sort of take classes as part of the main campus, but really if you are directly admitted into FPF, you would be taking majority of your classes through our program.
Thank you, Brandon. And I just realized, so the question that I was trying to get to here is that, do we help our students prepare for spring 2023 and picking out classes? And the answer to that is absolutely. We do help you all in October is when that occurs in planning for the upcoming semester. And in the past have offered workshops as well. So you have the one-on-one with advising as well as workshops to help you pick out and get prepared for the upcoming spring. And then the next question in here is, does FPF accept AP credits? So it's not necessarily us, it's LNS, I would say, because we are part of LNS. So if it is for like quantitative reasoning, yes, AP credits can be applied towards essential skills is what I meant to say, which includes quantitative reasoning, reading and composition, and foreign language. 7 course breadth you cannot apply exam scores towards these requirements. You do have to take an actual course. Now, when it comes to applying AP scores towards major requirements, it's going to depend on the major and what they accept and what they don't. So you can always go directly to the major website, and you can also talk to your advisors in the summer and in the fall with those questions and help to kind of help if you need guidance, kind of getting to the right spot. So it varies by the department in terms of your AP credits. But you will, the good thing is that you do get units on your Berkeley transcript for the credits, assuming that those AP exam scores post to your record. You will get units which can kind of count as like elective units towards your overall 120. Okay, so the next question here is, if you have been admitted to FPF, can you opt out or are you required to be in the program? Another good question.
Yeah, so if you're directly admitted into FPF, that means if you want to attend UC Berkeley, then you would have to go through our program. If there's a reason why you feel like FPF is not a good fit for you, or like you just can't do it, maybe it's better identification benefits, maybe you just have completed so many different community college courses or anything like that. If you have a reason, feel free to email us or contact admissions directly. Again, with the selection process of students admitted into FPF directly, or if they have the option of it, admission sort of makes that decision for us. We don't really have a say in terms of who's selected or who gets what. So feel free to, if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us, but of course you can always reach out to admissions directly, and one of us can give you a better answer.
All right, thank you, Brandon. So the next question here is also, I've seen a couple of these questions coming in. Are FPF students housed together or guaranteed on-campus housing for their first year?
So FPF students would follow the same housing application that any other first-year student at UC Berkeley would. I believe housing applications go out sometime well in advance before the summer move-in process happens. So FPF students do not necessarily have to live in the same house together, nor are they guaranteed housing. So if you complete the Cal Housing application, then you will follow their processes and submit your preferences for housing. So you may end up living with another FPF student, or you could live with a student that is in a different college entirely and therefore not in the fall program for freshmen. So this is one of the examples of how you're still a regular UC Berkeley student and get to engage in all the same opportunities. as long as with the additional benefits of participating in the fall program for freshmen.
All right, thank you, Caroline. So the next question here, I think this may have overlapped just a tiny bit with a prior question, but I'm gonna read it out. How are students selected for FPF? Does everyone who apply gets in? So it's a decision that's made on the admissions end. So I think Brandon was mentioning that admissions does the selection of our students who are directly admitted to our program, and students who choose to opt into our program get in. So it's not really an application process per se or a screening on our end. However, if you have a lot of community college units or potentially IGETC, then FPF may not be the best fit for you just based on where you're at unit wise. Okay, so the next question here is it possible to switch from a biochemistry major to a bioengineering major, or am I exclusively admitted to the College of Science, to the College of Letters and Science and not engineering?
Yeah, so if you're initially admitted into the College of Letters and Science, then that is the college that you have to start off with. So if you wanted to get into College of Engineering, you may have to take a look at the transfer process of changing colleges. I will say that changing into the College of Engineering is rather difficult, and not all students are able to do so. So what I would do is take a look at the change of college process specifically for College of Engineering and reach out to them directly if you do have specific questions about what the change of college looks like and if it's going to be worth it for you.
All right, thank you, Brandon. So the next question that came in here is, once enrolled in FPF, does the advisor contact the student, or is the student emailed as to who their advisor is to connect and create a class schedule?
So during the summer, you'll receive information about something called Golden Bear Advising, which is a series of modules that lay the groundwork for how advising works in FPF and helps you understand your degree requirements. So after you go through those modules, then you'll be able to have an appointment with your FPF advisor, and we will let you know sometime during the summer who your FPF advisor is. You will know well in advance to scheduling your summer class, to scheduling your fall classes, which advisor you'll be working with. And there is no like set number of times that you need to meet with an FPF advisor. We encourage you to contact us whenever you feel like you're needing support, and we'll also be reaching out periodically throughout the semester to check in and provide resources as well. Any other notes on advising y'all would add, Sarah and Brandon?
No, that was good, Caroline. Yeah, the next question we have here is how do FPF class credits transfer to main campus, and do they look any different on the transcript? So no, they do not look different. There is no designation on your transcript of FPF. The courses are not listed differently. Maybe the only thing that might stand out is there's going to be an X in front of the courses that are FPF or taken through our program that kind of designates that they're FPF, but the grade points all go in the same. So there is no difference. They're the same courses as main campus. The curriculum, the rigor, a lot of our instructors are the same. So there's no difference there. That's a really good question, though. I think that's one that does come up a lot for us. Okay, and the next question, I want to try to get to as many of these as we can. There's a lot of really good ones coming in. They're all good, not to say that there's any bad ones. So the next question is, does being in FPF make it easier to get the classes you want, assuming the class in question is offered through FPF?
Yeah, so I don't think there's any program that can, or we can't necessarily like guarantee that you're going to get the class that you want. You are still competing with other students in terms of enrollment. But I will say, if you are thinking about this in terms of numbers, like with FPF, if there's a class that you want, you're competing with 750 students as opposed to if you aren't an FPF, you're competing with not only first year students, you're also competing with second year students, third year students, and even sometimes seniors. So I think for the most part, as long as you're prepared for enrollment, and you're right on dot as soon as it starts, and you know exactly what you want, and you have some backup plans as well. I think for the most part, most of our students get into at least their first or second choices, at least a few of them. But again, we can't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get into all the classes you want. And of course, sometimes classes you want, but maybe there's different time conflicts, and maybe it doesn't work out anyways. But I will say that in terms of getting into your classes, you are competing with less students compared to non-FPF courses.
Thank you, Brandon. So I'm going to jump to a question here that I think it has come up a lot in the past, and it might be helpful for everyone to hear the answer to. Why would a student not sign up for FPF? I heard that the FPF building is off campus and it's hard for them to integrate with the main campus community.
Yeah, I think that's
you want to do that, Caroline, or do you want me to?
I can go for it if y'all are okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, well, there's a couple of things to play out there. Yes, the location is something to consider, but when it comes to navigating campus, Berkeley is a very large campus, even for faculty and staff to navigate. So when it comes to the FPF's location in the Golden Bear Center, you can think of it as an opportunity to practice getting familiarized with downtown Berkeley. Most of your classes will likely take place in the Golden Bear Center, but there are some of our courses that are online, and as well as a few that are even offered on the main campus. So our location will also help you get to know the area that you'll be living in for the next couple of years, as well as being able to facilitate a smaller cohort feel with the students that you're in classes with. So location is something that students talk about as well. And as for why someone would not choose FPF, it could be because you may be utilizing Veterans Affairs benefits, like we mentioned earlier, or you have a lot of units coming in through IGETC or taking classes elsewhere. So those are two considerations that you will want to keep in mind with our program. I will also add one more note too about the location thing. There are several bus routes that go around campus that are sponsored by UC Berkeley and our local transit system. And former students in the program have told me that they developed a routine of they would all meet up at a certain bus stop on campus themselves. They would take the 51B down to the Golden Bear Center. And so every time class started at 9 or 8 a.m., whenever the class started, they would all roll in squad deep, ready to take the class together because they made the commute together. So that's an example of how students have navigated transportation to the Golden Bear Center, and it became a lovely ritual that they held throughout the fall semester.
Yeah, and I also just want to add that if you are thinking of FPF and you're thinking of which dorms should I choose, the two closest dorms that are closest to FPF would be Blackwell as well as Unit 3. So if you are thinking about FPF and you wanted a shorter commute from the dorm room to where most of your class will be held, I would say Blackwell Unit 3 is probably your best bet. And I guess in terms of location, like Caroline mentioned, Berkeley's a really big campus. It's interesting because one of the dormitories, Clark Kerr, is sometimes not even located on the Berkeley map sometimes, just because it is farther away. So in some sense, the FPF building is even closer than some of the dormitories that we have at UC Berkeley. So I think in terms of location wise, it's a lot of students actually live there. There's actually other campus buildings that are actually around the vicinity of where our building is. Like, for example, the public health building is only a block away from us. So it is definitely something to consider. And I think if you plan things well, it's definitely not too much of an issue.
All right. So the next question I wanted to get to here is, are the teachers in FPF Berkeley professors? So yes, a number of our instructors also teach on the main campus, and our faculty or professors on the main campus. A number of our teachers teach at other institutions in the Bay Area, or may commute even further, but they're teaching at other four-year institutions. They're vetted the same way as as Berkeley faculty instructors are on the main campus. So there you're getting the same level of difficulty in your classes, the same rigor as other courses. And then another question I will just jump to, because I think this one, how hard is it to get permission to take how hard is it to get permission to take main campus courses not on the official approved list? So, so this list is a list we get from Letters in Science, from the dean there. So we don't have control over that list, and we don't have the flexibility to offer those exceptions to say, unless that course is on the list that we get, then you're not able to take it enroll in it in the upcoming fall through our program. Yeah, I would say in almost all cases, this is not going to put you behind if it's, a course that you're looking to take for your intended major, or maybe something that you're just really interested in. You can get into it in the upcoming spring. But going back to the initial question, we'll know more about the list and kind of the final courses approved as we get closer to GBA in the summertime. So the next question, are there many, someone's typing an answer to that, so I will not put that one out there. I think you're going to get an answer on the side there. So this is a good question here. Do the students in FPF keep their same advisor for their entire year as a freshman, or do they have a different advisor in spring?
I can take that one. Oh, that's a great question. So FPF advisors work with our caseload during the summer before you start at UC Berkeley, and your first fall semester only. So once it comes time for the spring semester to start, you will make your move to the College of Letters and Sciences Office of Undergraduate Advising, where there is a whole cadre of college advisors with various expertise who would help you navigate college policy and planning for your courses. Additionally, as you move throughout your career, you will also add on undergraduate major advisors. As I mentioned before, there's a variety of different advisors at UC Berkeley. So once you get declared in a major, you will have an advisor for that major, as well as a college advisor who will help you with generally navigating your education. But long story short, FPF advisors work with you during the summer and the fall.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Okay, so the next question is, I'm considering switching majors outside of Letters and Science, but haven't decided yet. Does that impact my participation in FPF?
No, because you're still currently in the College of Letters and Science, you can definitely still participate in FPF. I think one thing that you'll want to do is just double check, depending on what college you're interested in, depending on what major you're interested in, and that'll sort of determine which FPF classes may be better for you. And if we don't offer necessarily the classes that would best correlate to that specific major, then let's definitely have a more detailed conversation offline. So feel free to email us sort of some of your concerns and what you're thinking about, and we can sort of let you know, like, hey, you can definitely take these sorts of courses, and that will go towards the major at this other college, and also just satisfy the other college sort of general education requirements. Most colleges at UC Berkeley will have general education requirements, and the great thing about FPF's curriculum is that we offer a lot of classes that sort of satisfy those general education requirements. So the answer is no, it won't affect you, but definitely reach out to us if you do have more detailed, specific questions about specific classes.
All right, thank you, Brandon. So a question that came in is, did I read in the information session correctly that FPF students are admitted UC Berkeley students? Do FPF students have the opportunity to live in the campus dorms? Is there a separate community or a community within a community? So FPF students are regularly admitted students to UC Berkeley. So they're just coming in kind of a different route instead of going in the traditional, what I think in the past was referred to as a traditional pathway. We are just kind of students who opt to come in or or selected to come in our way are participating in a smaller learning community for the first semester of their freshman year at Berkeley. So regularly admitted Berkeley students. And yes, I think this may have come up before. Our students do have the opportunity to live in campus dorms amongst students who aren't in FPF. So all the dorms throughout campus and residence halls, students will be living together. So we don't have our own residence hall for our FPF students. So another question here is, if you take 3 FPF courses, can you still take another LNS offering without restriction, or only LNS offerings that are 2 credits and approved? Specifically, a CS 150 an option if a CS minor or major is wanted?
That is a great question. So there's a lot of really interesting classes that we have within FPF and on the main campus. So we do have 3 core classes that you can take in FPF. However, when it comes to classes that are more than 3 units offered by the main campus, as Sarah mentioned before, there is a list that's been shared with us from the College of Letters and Sciences Dean that outlines which classes are available for FPF students to take on the main campus. So if there's a particular class you are curious to know about, please feel free to reach out to one of the advisors at fpf@berkeley.edu, and we'll be able to walk you through which main campus classes are eligible.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Okay, so another question is, would you say it's harder for FPF students to integrate into main campus after the fall semester and form a community there?
I do think this question, it really depends on the student. I was actually an FPF student back in 2014. And it was much different than what it is today. I think the same sort of values and concepts sort of apply. So I think really in terms of integration onto like the main part of campus, it really is up to you in terms of how much you want to integrate yourself during the fall semester. Because again, as part of FPF, the biggest difference is sort of academically what classes you're taking, who you're taking classes with, and where they're located. That doesn't stop you from getting involved in all of the different things that all other students are participating in or getting involved in. And again, like, you are going to be in the same dorms as other students who are not in the program as well. So there's always ways for you to sort of connect and integrate yourself in the wider UC Berkeley community, not just within FPF. So I will say it is sort of up to each student to sort of put themselves out there and sort of get themselves involved. But at the same time, that's also why FPF is here too, is for the students that may be difficult to sort of get involved in very large spaces, and it can sometimes be difficult. Being in a small FPF community can sometimes make it easier in terms of just connecting with other folks and networking and meeting new people. So I will say, it is up to the student. But in my case, when I was in FPF, I did not find that it was necessarily difficult because I was already integrating myself in a lot of different ways, both in the smaller FPF community and the broader UC Berkeley community.
All right, thank you, Brandon.
Can I go to the question too?
Of course.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, if you'd like to know more about what the student experience has been like going from FPF semester to your main campus one, perhaps you might consider reaching out to our student ambassadors who work for the program. Many of them were in FPF last semester, so it's a very recent transition for them. So you can reach out to them at askfpf@berkeley.edu, and one of our ambassadors would be happy to share more about their experience. Or you can register for our next webinar next Thursday, where some of our ambassadors will be hosting a student panel to talk about their thoughts on the program and what their life at Berkeley has been like. So I want to offer that up in case people want to hear from a student perspective too. Our ambassadors come from various majors within LNS, and they really are truly lovely.
Yes, a very excellent resource there. Yeah. Okay, so the next question here that came in is, will joining FPF mean that you will have to spend extra time than a directly admitted student when completing your undergrad? And I would say a simple answer is no. Joining our program does not set you back even if you're not able to enroll in your desired course for your intended major in the first semester. We've had, and as Caroline mentioned, connecting with the FPF ambassadors, there are a lot of ambassadors who pursued business or a physical science or biological science major, where sometimes it can be a bit more challenging to get those prerequisites through our program in the first semester, and are still on track with their peers and making progress towards either declaration or graduation. So I think that's a very common question, and something I would be wondering too. And as Brandon mentioned, he was in our program, and I don't think that, I don't know, Brandon, if you want to add anything to that about feeling like it sets you back.
No, I mean, so as an prior FPF student, I graduated within 4 years, and I changed my major multiple times, but I still was able to graduate. I also took all the different pre-med classes. I majored in ethnic studies, and nothing really set me back. I also had friends who were in FPF who double majored in things and graduated within 4 years. I had a friend who majored in MCB, graduated in 4 years, and was summa cum laude. So FPF, I would say FPF doesn't necessarily set anyone back. I think it's just a matter of how well you're able to sort of do well in your classes and how well you plan things, which is why I say it's always really important to meet with an advisor, especially an FPF advisor, to sort of talk about what your 2-year plan is, your 4-year plan is, to make sure that you are able to achieve whatever timeline that you want to graduate in, right? So I know I was saying 4 years, but if 4 years isn't your timeline, that's totally okay. So definitely work with your advisor to sort of figure out what is the best plan for you to figure out your academic goals in that regard.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Okay, so the next question is, students admitted into FPF, will they be able to connect with their advisors prior to summer? So prior to Golden Bear advising and completing the assignment in there. And I would say that we try to, unless it's kind of an unusual circumstance or something kind of, outside of the typical, box, if it has to do with program planning or how do your AP credits or, work that you completed prior to high school plug in and apply towards an intended major, that will all be covered in our one-on-one sessions in the summer, and with plenty of time for you to pick out the appropriate courses for fall. So no, our advising typically starts after you submit. There's what's kind of called a quiz or assignment in Golden Bear advising, and it's essentially just kind of ensuring that you've picked up, retained the information that was provided in the modules, and also providing a little bit of information about yourself and what you're interested in majoring in, and some requirements you may have already satisfied. So at that point, then you can make an appointment with advisors in FPF. So typically, yes, that happens in the summertime. I think we've got time maybe for just one more question. We're running up right up to 5 here. So again, please email us at fpf@berkeley.edu in case we didn't get to your question. So the last question I'm going to throw out there is, sorry, a lot of these I think are similar to ones we've already answered. I heard you say the recommended number of units is between 13 to 15 per semester. Is this the same for students going to Berkeley main campus?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's always going to depend on each student, how many specific units they take. But generally speaking, for your first semester, it's sort of just advised to not take too much, just to make sure that you understand what the rigor of UC Berkeley is like. Oftentimes students maybe sometimes overload themselves and don't realize how difficult all the different classes can be. So sometimes taking too many units your first semester is not advisable. So, we do advise to say we're on 13 to 15, just to get used to what it's like. And then, after your first semester, it's sort of gauging how that semester went. If it felt like a good amount, then great, you can stay at that amount for the next semester. But if you feel like you can do more and you want to do more, then definitely do that in your spring semester. But just, for your first semester, we want you to sort of have a strong foundation and sort of start off your Berkeley career on good footing. So just making sure that you're sort of managing your amount of units, I think, is really important.
All right, so that with that, we're going to that concludes our Q&A here, and thank you again for your participation today and for joining us. Congrats, a big congrats on your acceptance to Berkeley. This is such an exciting time, and we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming fall. So take care, everybody, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you for coming.
Bye, all.